Okay, I'm Maria from Rich and Simple Living. Today we're at St Wayburg's Church in Hanbury. Oh look, there's a cat there on the wall. See, it's a nice church. I don't know if I've brought you here with me before, I may have done. But I'm going to put some flowers on my grandparents' grave. And then we're going to go down to my great-grandparents' grave to put some flowers on there. And to put on a little poppy cross for my great uncle. So it's really overgrown. We wasn't sure whether to bring the strimmer or not, thinking it might have been taken care of, but it hasn't. So the bottom end's going to be worse. So we're going to put some flowers on and pause for a moment because the strimmer's a bit loud. So I've got to clear all of the leaves off. There's a tree there that shed all its leaves, and fortunately they all fall down here. I can move them. I've got some nice flowers. I'll show you these. Nice ones, both the same. One for my grandparents and the other's going down to my great-grandparents.
That's where the cross is going down there.
Yeah. I'll show you, swing you around and show you the Remembrance Cross. You want to turn it around, Sean, because we've written on the back of it. And that should be in permanent marker, so hopefully it won't wash away. And we're hoping we can stick it into the ground. Dean thinks it'll stick in okay, but I don't know how hard the ground will be. But nice views here.
Moist because it's been raining.
Well, hopefully that's what we're relying on, that because it's wet it will be moist. Just try and come up here once a month. It's a few
Beautiful
villages
view,
away. Yeah, it does. On a sunny day, you can see miles right out to Dovedale, can't you? The hills. You'll see better from when we go down the other side. We'll be able to show you better. Now, my granddad, he was in the army. He was in World War II, and then he was lucky he survived. He was out in India, I believe. I've got lots of photos of him.
Was that Bernard's brother-in-law?
Yeah, because this is great Uncle Bernard's sister, isn't it? So yeah, he was okay. He survived and came home at the end of the war, and he lived till he was 90 years old.
We've had quite a few in World War II. It was just Bernard who died.
Yeah, we had lots of families in World War One and World War Two.
In World War One, they mainly died though. In World War Two, they mainly survived.
Well, all ours survived in World
Bernard.
Well, no, your dad's great uncle didn't survive World War One.
Oh no.
That was one heck of a brave man, that was. He's stuck on
Is he
something.
the one with the memorial in France?
Yeah. Yeah, they never found his body. We'll have a walk and a talk down to my great-grandparents in a minute. And I'll tell you a bit about them then. So that's one lot of flowers on. We're going to head down now to my great-grandparents. If I could find somewhere to talk, because you see what it's like. It's very soft and spongy. And I'll let these go ahead of me because he's got the strimmer. I don't want to be knocked out by it. It's quite overgrown here. There's some quite old graves. All the old graves are along there. 1800s, I'm not sure how old the oldest are. They've obviously been removed from their position and they're just lined against the wall. Now, that's a shame when they rebury over people. This is what I don't want to happen to my family, so I always make sure we can put flowers on. But anyway, we're going down to my great-grandparents now. My great-grandparents, they had 4 children in all. They'd had 2 sons and 2 daughters. The first son was born in 1906, but sadly died in 1907. He had fever and he was teething, according to what my mum said. I've not seen his death certificate. That's something that I want to get hold of. But he was teething, and he suffered fits and convulsions, and he died, sadly. So by that point, my granny, their daughter, was born. She was born in 1907, so she was a few months old when her older brother died. Now, the devastation of that, you can't imagine. And my great-grandparents didn't have any more children at all until 1912, I think it was, and they had another daughter. A few years later, in 1917, my granny had another child. You can hear that noise? It's me kicking through the leaves. Yeah, and they had another child, this time another son, and his name was Bernard. Now, Bernard, he grew up, he had a girlfriend. It's just wandering towards the stone, it looks nice. He got married in 1942, I think it was. It's a nice stone, isn't it? Different. He got married in 1942 to a woman called Edie. He'd been called up to the army and had to go away to fight. Not, yeah.
I'm not going down there, I'll take the car.
You're not going down there, okay.
I'm not going down there as well.
See the weeds, is what we mean. He'd been called away to fight. I'm not sure exactly where he was. Whether he was in Africa or Tunisia, and then went over to Italy. Like I told you about Sean, she's doing a topic on it at the moment. We're all trying to work out what we can, but it's difficult to get too much information. And of course he didn't write on his letters where he was. We weren't allowed to put their positions. So, Dean's trimming away. So yes, some old stones here. I've stopped to. Now this is the old part of the cemetery. So in 1943, he was in one regiment, in the Surrey Regiment, and in 1943, on the 1st of October, he changed over to a Buckinghamshire Regiment. Then 29 days later, on the 30th of October 1943, he was killed in action. We assume he was on the campaign towards Monte Cassino. We're thinking that's the way they were going, we're not 100% sure. But he was killed in action. Now, you can't imagine the devastation that would have caused back home. Well, I won't go any closer because you might not hear me because of the strimmer. But you just can't imagine. He was newly married, not been married a year. And sadly, she wasn't pregnant, or they hadn't had any children or nothing, which is such a shame. But, yeah. And he died. It wasn't long after, really, 7 years, when my great-grandmother died. I imagine carrying all the strain of losing her first son, and then the second son, and the circumstances they did. And during this time, his wife Edie had got remarried. You can't imagine how she must have felt, how heavy-hearted it was for her. And she had a stroke, probably caused by stress, that she would have carried an awful lot of stress, and she died in 1950. Within the month, her husband, my great-granddad, they were a devoted couple, died of heartbreak, and the doctor actually said it was heartbreak. Sean, we need the water. There's nothing, no ants now. It's alright, she had ants crawling her down here last time. But yeah, my great-granddad died a month later, and the doctor actually said his heart just gave out. He was heartbroken. It was just all too much. So, oh, excuse me, there's a bug on my nose. So yeah, that was a sad story, and how the pain carries on. I'll have to go back and fetch the water. I'll bring you the flowers. We have to string round here every time, because as you can see, nobody comes.
What's picking up that does there?
Oh, Sean's bringing the water now. It's because we're down a hill, we're sloping downwards. And the leaves look lovely. Just I free my hands up, I'll zoom in a bit so you can see.
What happened?
Nothing, he's just saying it's a bit crooked, but it's because we're downhill. Must have the water
I
then.
thought you thought it was leather something.
No.
He was rubbing it.
So that was, it's quite a sad tale really.
What is?
About Uncle Bernard and
Oh.
grandparents.
Right.
Grandparents. Yeah,
William. I like the name William.
I like the name William.
It's hard to pass it on here though.
But-
That's the trouble.
No, that's the sit on. Just pass you the flowers. But
Like something, a piece of finger to
no,
put it up like that. Like one.
bring a little small bit of something next time we come for it. Flowers up there.
Where are you putting that?
Well, I'll put it in front somewhere. Where do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe wherever's not featuring. Wherever's soft. It's not all that soft, is it?
Seen anyway.
There we go. I'll just have a wander down here and just have a look at these trees. Oh, the colours of them, they're so lovely. You can only get to wander down here sort of when the weeds die back. See, there's a gravy right opposite my grandparents, and I'm pretty sure that person's name was on the funeral list who attended my great grandparents' funeral. Well, my great grandmother's I've got the list for. I'm pretty sure that person's name was on it, and if it was, they were obviously friends, because it's quite nice because they're opposite more or less as well.
Who are all these people?
Willis Crofts were people, friends of my great grandparents. There was some soldiers' graves down here. It is a Commonwealth graveyard, but you just careful. You have to walk slowly and lift your feet carefully.
I got prick.
Oh yeah, there's thistles as well, but you can't see where the Commonwealth graves are. It's a nice stone. That's different, isn't it?
Right, these Commonwealth war graves.
So, yeah, I was saying about my great grandparents, how sad it was, and in recent times, things have occurred very recently that's brought more tragedy that may not have occurred had my great Uncle Bernard not died on that fateful day. You know, hands of time. But yeah, walking through wet grass, like, and I haven't put my other boots on. I've got hooks on and it's wet through. I'm going to see what this is. I don't know. I don't think it's a memorial of any kind. I don't really know. There's such old graves here. The old part of the cemetery. You've got to watch where you walk. I'm so worried that you'd fall down a hole. Oh, someone moved then. Was that a frog? Could end up down there with them if you're not careful. It's up and down the spongy, but I can't see no descriptions. There's a view. You can walk right down to the bottom. My feet are wet through. I was looking to see if I could see any more war memorial graves. Oh, you just can't see through all of this mess. It's just unbelievable. I'd love to go and look at all of the stones and read them, because I've got lots of relatives all in these areas besides the ones I know of, and you just don't know where they are. Can't get to half of these. I'm not even going to attempt going down there. My feet are absolutely soaking. It's such a shame that he's just left to be overrun. But I suppose it's done deliberately so it can be all dug over and reburied over the top of, because the graveyards are getting full. And if nobody's coming to tend the graves, then they will just rebury over them. I think they have to leave them about 100 years. Because I've only recently found out where my great-great-grandmother was, right in the village next to me. But she died in 1907, so I'm not sure that grave will be there now. I have seen some flowers on some of these at Christmas time. I've seen the odd wreath down here. So somebody comes down. But yeah, I just thought today yesterday was Remembrance Day. It was the 11th. And I just thought I'd come and show you and tell you the story about my great uncle Bernard. Very close family, very close. I've got plenty of photos and probably tag some on at the end of this. So it's very quiet here. Such a peaceful place. Unfortunately, my Uncle Bernard isn't buried here. I mean, I probably said earlier he's buried in Minturno in Italy, in the war graves. They're all very well looked after. So we'll go back up. Oh, it's nice now and it's trimmed, so hopefully the weeds won't grow now over winter.
There'll be somebody's coming.
Yeah. But at least it's all clear here. This one's always clear. And my aunties come sometimes to put flowers on. But they're getting older now. I mean, one's 93, I think. The other one's almost 86 and struggles on her feet, so it's not so easy for them. You can see the name. I wanted to wash off.